what you want to do before you leave home is make sure and brown your meat up. Just put it in the skillet. Make sure and flour, salt, and pepper. A little bit of grease. I like to use shortening or bacon grease. And brown it up good. It just gives a much better flavor to your stew. This is what you end up with. You add some carrots, celery, and with your meat, plenty of onion, salt and pepper, a little bit of Worcestershire sauce, and put some water in it, and you're ready to go. Now, obviously I'm in the camper right now, but what I did before we got the camper was I ended up doing all my vegetables ahead of time, putting them in a container, so that when we got ready to go, everything was ready, the meat was already browned up, everything was done. All I had to do is put it in the container. Now what you want to do is you'll end up putting water to cover this. I don't add my potatoes until about 20 minutes before it's done because I don't want mushy potatoes. I got little red new potatoes to put in it, which will make it delicious. And we're about ready to put on the fire. I'm going to add water into it, probably about up to here, just covering, but where the pot won't boil over. And that way we can keep everything nice and moist and cook it good. Okay, it's been about 2.5 hours. I'll put it on a little bit longer because it's pretty windy out here. As you can see, I've made me a little windbreak for my fire because it was kind of hot. So, kind of windy, so we'll see what it looks like. Oh, that's looking good. We're going to now put the potatoes in. Be sure when you're lifting your lid that you either use a lift or a big pot holder. And don't put it on the ground. I always like to set mine down here because if you put it on the ground, all your dirt gets in your pot. And we don't like that. So we're going to put the potatoes in now and see what happens. Okay, we've got our potatoes. We're just going to put them in right here real easily. We're going to dump our potatoes in and let them cook up real good. I've washed my hands, so it's okay to touch. Now remember, you want pretty much salt, quite a bit of salt in your mix because potatoes take the salt out. Anytime you've got salt in a dish, if it's too salty, all you have to do is make sure and put a potato in it and it'll take some of the salt flavor out. That's a good tip too. So we're going to take our lid and put it over it. And we're going to let it cook. Now right now I've got my pot sitting on the grate instead of hanging. It's just easier for me to get the pot off, get the lid off, and mess with it instead of having it hanging. It makes it a little easier. And as you can see, my fire's smoldering good and hot. It's not really burning, it's just smoking a lot. We've got the windbreak back here because it is pretty windy today. That helps the smoke come up and heat the food instead of going just out from underneath it. So that's what we're doing right now, and we'll let that cook again. Okay, I've put this on the fire. I've got the potatoes in there and the meat and carrots and celery and onions and salt and pepper. It's been cooking for about 7 hours now, and it's very ready to go. As you can see, the fire is not touching it. I have heat underneath it, but I don't let the fire touch the pan. It's ready to go, and we're going to eat and enjoy. I hope you enjoy yours. You can cook it as long as you need to, about 7 hours. You can leave it and go hiking or camping, boating, whatever you want to do, and it'll be just fine. You can always start the fire up more when you get back and finish cooking it. The longer it cooks, usually the better it is. I also put a little bit of flour in with the broth to thicken it up, give it a little more flavor and make it really good. So enjoy.